Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sex Sells podcast. We're back after a week off. Today we are talking about new types of cheating, different types of cheating, micro cheating, all these new ideas around infidelity that have come into the public sphere. By the way, I should also say this is the podcast where we talk about dating, relationships, culture, and society from a male and female perspective. Eliza, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, thank you. I have done nothing today, so it's been good and relaxing. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm good. I went to the gym and ate.
That's good.
As
you should.
Good day, yeah. And there's been a heat wave here in Sydney for the last couple of days. It's cooled down a little bit. So spring is definitely upon us. Has it been hot in the Central Coast?
Yeah, it's been shit. I hate hot weather, but...
Do you have a pool or anything?
No. We have a spa, but unfortunately Adrian is not very skilled at maintaining it. I could, but I didn't.
What do you need to do to maintain a spa?
There's so many chemicals. I mean, previous owners left us like a list and was like I think it's like 2 weeks, you need to put this much and 1 cup of this and 1 cup of that or whatever.
What?
And Adrian got lazy, left it for a few weeks, and then he just put a whole bunch in, and then I went in and I got like chemical burns all over my body, like this crazy rash.
I
that
thought
was terrible.
a spa was just water with bubbles.
No, this one's a hydrotherapy spa, so I don't know if that makes a difference, but it's...
Spas are the most overrated thing you can have.
Yeah.
It's just bubbles.
Yeah, well, do you know what's funny is like I kept joking when we were looking for a house. I was like, my only requirement is a house with a spa. And then when I saw this house, I was like, this is the sign. We need to buy it. And I went in it like 3 times.
There's something about a hot tub or a spa that seems very luxurious, but
yeah,
it's just the bubbles feel weird.
Yeah, especially when it's just like you on your own, just sitting there like, hey, my neighbors can see me.
Yeah.
They've got a hot tub as well, like on the other side of the fence. It's weird.
Yeah, what's with hot tubs? Everyone thinks a hot tub is a status symbol, don't they?
Yeah, and I did fall into that trap.
Got to add a hot tub in. They're not that expensive. How much is a spa?
I think 5,000. I looked it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you could get cheaper, but...
Well, now all the rage is, what are they? Ice baths.
And plunge pools.
Yeah. Yeah, you get those portable ones where you just get a bunch of ice and put it in. And then...
Have you done that?
No, I've never done an ice bath. I do cold showers. But I don't have a bath. So, and I'm not going to get the portable one and then, go to 7-Eleven and buy buckets of ice.
There's
every
places
day.
like, I've seen gyms popping up specifically like for sauna and ice baths. And I don't know if there's anything else, like if there's actual gym, but they're like a thing now everywhere.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of this is middle and upper class people saying like, it's so inspiring to go through like something tough in the morning.
Yeah.
Whereas most people can barely afford groceries now and they're like, I already have enough stress. I don't need to be put in like sub-zero temperatures to go through my stress. So, yeah.
Very true.
It is all the rage now though. Wim Hof started all that, didn't he?
Yeah.
What nationality is he? Is he Swedish? Norwegian? Some random Viking-looking dude who swims in ice, swims in cold water every day.
I don't know. Dutch. Yeah.
So weird because I'm into all of this self-help, physical therapy stuff to a degree, but a lot of it. So Andrea really likes Andrew Huberman, and a few of my friends are in love with Andrew Huberman, and I'm like, well, what is the core message of what he says? He's like, it's good to sleep and get sun and not drink alcohol. I'm like, don't you already know that?
Do you know what? It's funny though, because we all know these things, but to actually implement them is something else that's a completely different thing. Like,
you just need a handsome, buff man with a lot of scientific
You need the repeated message
language.
Of someone that you find interest. I think it's like a thing that it has to be repeated to you multiple times. Like Adrian and I were talking about this the other day when he's been in therapy throughout his life. on and off for anxiety, and he's saying like, oh, I feel anxious again. It's so weird. Like, why am I feeling like this? And I was like, what have you done? Like, what tools did you learn in therapy, and what are you implementing now? And he was like, I don't know. They say the same thing. And I was like, it's funny because when he goes, sometimes he'll do like 2 sessions every couple of years. And then he comes home and he's like all of these things, and he's going for like runs, and he's doing meditating every day, and we're eating clean, and he feels so good for like 3 months, and then you fall back into your old trap again, and he's like, why am I anxious again? So it is funny how it's like we get stuck in that. And I actually experienced that myself recently when I was doing the 75 hard challenge, and
What's that?
lost. It's like 75 days where you have really rigid rules, and it's not about fitness or weight loss. It's about like the mental discipline. And basically you're supposed to read every single day. You're supposed to drink 4 liters of water, no cheat meals, no alcohol, no drugs.
So you're doing all this with a baby.
Yeah, and you have to exercise twice a day. It can be walks, but it has to be 2 workouts a day. And I did it, and I lost 10 kilos, which was pretty crazy.
Wow.
And then I put a bit back on. And then I felt so good. And the craziest thing was, and this is, I think we talked about this, is when I started like doing voice memos to myself in like replacing a journal. I would make like a 2-minute voice memo every day. And when I went back and listened to them recently, at the start of it, I was talking about like how like when I was really unfit and everything, I was like, I'm in so much physical pain. Like my body, it just hurts so much, like after pregnancy and birth and weight gain and all the changes that it does to your organs or whatever. And I was like, I was just in agony. I couldn't fucking walk, and I already have like back issues and everything. And then 2 weeks in, just eating healthier and exercising, my pain was like completely gone. It was crazy. I was like, this is the first time in almost a year and a half that I haven't had like a chronically sore back and aching muscles everywhere. And I hadn't even lost weight at that point. It was just like because I was like anti-inflammation. So, and then what happened when I finished the challenge, of course, I was so excited, being like, I have not had one like single treat in 75 days. I'm going to treat myself. And boy, did I fall off the wagon. I obviously did not learn to keep anything. So I'm like started again now. But yeah, and then I realized like 3 weeks later or 4 weeks later, I was like, hang on, like I was reading for 2 hours a day because I would do it while I was holding Remy at sleep on my Kindle and stuff. And now I all of a sudden wasn't reading. I was eating shitty again. And it's like, yeah, actually, you know what? What they say about eating good and exercising is fucking true. But we all know it. But it just is like the effort of doing it and sticking to it and making it like a lifestyle change rather than a temporary thing, which is rich coming from me. I've gone through this cycle like 490 times.
Isn't it crazy? You see those memes on Instagram where there's someone with that disgruntled face and they do that funny cartoon where they've just got crayon all over their face and they're like, oh, the world we live in is so terrible and here are all the political things, and then it's just, oh, God, you're giving me your hardest battles, and then it's just the Chad face that's like, bro, just get off your phone and go outside.
It's that simple.
It's that simple.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
It truly is. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Good on you. That's pretty impressive to do that while you got a baby. So good stuff.
Thanks.
I still think I really loved all those health influencers at the start when they all came out, but now I think their message is important, but we treat them like they're Aristotle when literally he's like, yeah, get sunlight. The sun, we need that.
Well, stay tuned for next week's podcast to hear more about this then.
That's true, yeah.
This is the god of our generation.
That's right, yeah, self-help. And here we are, 2 millennials who basically are doing a self-help podcast. But
yeah, true.
So new types of cheating. I've heard of a few. I mean, obviously I know about emotional cheating versus physical cheating, but some of the ones you mentioned in the message that you sent me before we started recording this podcast, I'd never heard of. So things like micro cheating and whatnot. So how about you give us a rundown of what some of these new types of cheating that you've heard about are?
So I think what's been really interesting is that with the influx of social media and education that we get from it, we're getting a lot of terms which have been around for a long time, but people are developing an understanding of it, which has a lot of pros in and advantages in the sense that we can understand, okay, there is some micro cheating going on in this situation, whereas before we wouldn't have labeled it as micro cheating. We'd probably say it was toxic behavior or fuckboy behavior, etc. So micro cheating is basically like you're not flat out having an emotional affair, you're not having a physical affair, but you're just teetering on crossing mild boundaries. So like, for example, it could be secretly messaging someone, deleting your text messages, lying about being in a relationship, just saying you're single, giving out your number even if you don't have an intention to go on a date with someone, you're just polite, you give out your number anyway or whatever, turning to someone else to have your emotional needs met, especially if you find that person attractive. And also trying to seek friendships with someone that you're sexually attracted to whilst in a relationship because you're just trying to kind of get close to them. Asking someone like personal questions basically about like their sex life, that like, for example, a guy and a girl, they're friends, they're out getting coffee, they're both in relationships, and the guy's like, oh, do you wear like lingerie when you guys have sex, or do you just go fully nude? Like that can be an example of micro cheating, where it's kind of basically unethical behavior within a relationship that is teetering on the cross of the boundary with someone else involved, a third party. So it's, now we kind of have the language for it. People are saying everywhere, everyone's micro cheating, or this, that, whatever. It's cheating, which, you know, if that's your definition of it, and for me, I would consider it micro cheating, yes, then it makes sense. But it is interesting. And then the other thing that I was talking about, or that was came up for me, was I was on Reddit, and of course, Adrian was like, what would you do if you had to delete Instagram? And I was like, I wouldn't care, but I would die without like reading Reddit relationships. And like I read it for like 8 hours while Remy's awake overnight. And just
average Redditor meme should actually just be you.
Oh, no. I don't look like the average Redditor. Please don't say that. The average Redditor is actually probably maybe like an OnlyFans girl.
Really? Because all those memes that they're like, oh, average Redditor, and it's a dude
with
a neck beard.
Yeah. I feel like it's changing now that there's been such an influx of like, even just like, I'm only in subreddits that are about like relationship advice, children, parenting, and things about like questions that people have about sex. There's one that's like Reddit After Dark. It's really good. And so many people in the comments use it to like subtly promote themselves, and they're like, why do I love anal so much but other girls don't? And you're like, okay, I see what's happening. But anyway, so I came across this post, and a girl was saying that she, Am I the Asshole, I think it was, which is my top favorite Reddit. And she was saying, I don't even know if it was on there, but anyway, she was saying her boyfriend was engaging in online sexual behavior with an AI bot. So they were dirty talking, and he was paying very minimal amount, like $2.50 or whatever, but he was getting off to it, and it was just messages coming through on his phone. And she's like, is this cheating? Like, do I break up because it's an AI, but it's so interactive, and like he's getting off to it feeling like it, acting like it's someone else that's literally talking to him and responding to everything he's saying. So that was an interesting thing. And then this other girl I follow on TikTok, she's quite popular, and she's been, I can't remember her last name, her first name is Francesca, and she's been on a few reality TV shows. And she's now uploaded her AI onto this program. We might have mentioned it before in a previous podcast, but you can put your face and voice and copyright it as an AI, so that when someone is video calling you, it literally looks as though we're interacting right now on video, where you see me, you're hearing my voice exactly like that, and the AI is so fast and intelligent that the conversation is flowing. So all she had to do was...
she actually responding with the voice?
No, she just had to sign over the rights for them to use her voice and face.
So people
now
could
people
technically
are paying
pay to talk to
Yeah.
as though it's her.
Yeah. Yeah. But she's she's very sexy. Like, it's pretty clear what these people are going to be talking to her
No one
about,
is gonna
most
have
likely.
kids.
Yeah.
You're the last person who's ever gonna have a kid. Look at all this.
It's so scary. Honestly. The Mormon community is starting to become more appealing every day for me.
Yeah, they're gonna take over the world. Just as they'll be the only ones having kids.
Yeah. But isn't that crazy? So and then it comes into things like, okay, well, so what's considered porn and what's considered cheating? And if they're not an actual individual person, but this guy is seeing a girl naked in front of him, hearing her voice that he technically feels that he knows her, and she's responding to him, how is that different to paying like an OnlyFans girl and having online sex with her? And then some people don't even consider that cheating. It's like a whole web of confusion about what is cheating, what is not, what is ethical. And I see every single day people coming up more and more like, should I be upset about this? Or I found this in my husband's pocket, or I found out this, or I found out my wife is doing this. And it's like, gosh, just sit down right now, even if you're 10 years into a relationship, and have a conversation and define what your boundaries are and what your rules and expectations are in regards to faithfulness, porn, cheating, all those things. Like, what do you consider cheating? Because I might go and kiss a girl and one boyfriend might say, that's not cheating, that's hot, whatever. I don't do that, by the way. And another person might be like, well, she literally just kissed someone else, that's cheating. Like, just because it's a girl. It'd be racist. It'd be sexist to not be offended by that. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's a funny one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can go grind on a girl, but don't do it with a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all that's pretty fair. I don't know, with the AI, having an AI bot chat sex definitely makes you cringe. But I guess if everyone watches, not everyone, but a lot of people watch porn,
Yeah.
you can make the argument, hey, well, it's not that much different to porn.
Yeah, that's the argument that people make in defense of themselves. So that's where it gets really tricky.
How does the AI chatbot work? What if you say something rogue? Like, hey, what do you think of the...
Yeah, you can literally say anything.
And it'll make it sexy.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
It's so crazy.
So you could say anything at all. Like, what's your opinion on the state of the economy in Venezuela? And
Yeah.
like, yeah, the state of my economy is wet or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm going to go onto it just to see what
think you
questions
should
I can
market
ask.
research. Put yourself on there, see if anyone like engages with you. But it's like, remember when we did a podcast ages ago on sex robots?
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
And they've become so advanced now that not only can you like cater exactly how they look, you can choose their boob size, their height, blah, 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 ethnicity. You can literally choose their voice. You can choose their tone. Are they sassy? Are they gentle and girly and young and polite? Or are they dominant, etc.? And then you can further from that program how they respond to you. Like, you can literally program in their personality so that when you're having intercourse with this sex doll, they're engaging with you in the way that you feel is the most sexually satisfying. And that's also another thing that I keep seeing online is women saying that they don't feel like they have enough sex with their husband, they burn out, housework, blah, blah, blah. He's not satisfied with the amount of sex they're having. She's allowed as a sex doll, but then out comes the most realistic looking woman thing they've seen, and then all of a sudden they're weird about it and they're like, this feels not right. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that does seem odd.
Yeah.
I don't understand, why can't people just use their imagination?
It's, yeah, we were
And
so used to not
self-pleasure.
doing that. Like, think about, like, before we had phones, you'd sit in a waiting room for a doctor for like an hour and a half and you literally just daydream. No one daydreams anymore. No one takes the time to like sit and think, unless hopefully you're driving. But even now, like, podcasts are more popular than music, basically. Like, you have something constantly thrumming into you. And I know that, like, I've observed that about myself. Like when I cook dinner, sometimes I'll have a podcast going or an audio book, and I'm like, God, like I don't have to have something coming in my head all the time, information or whatever. I can just sit and be bored.
You can't help it, because it's just, why not be stimulated by something that often is educational or informative or entertaining. I was listening to a podcast, ironically, and someone was saying, well, the question isn't why are all these people engaging in these new behaviors with these realistic virtual sex dolls? It's why would you not at this point?
Yeah.
Because they're so realistic, tempting, they fulfill everyone's fantasy. So the question has to be reframed as like, how do you get people to not be tempted by that and to avoid that and to just be happy in their, or at least be fulfilled and content in their real life human relationship? And look, the best situation that we have so far is religion. And again, we'll probably talk about this in the next podcast, or at least just a very strong code of ethics that are culturally enforced. But right now, if you were a young man or even an older man who is struggling in the dating world and getting a lot of rejection, I mean, why wouldn't you want to subscribe to someone for $10 a month and get that parasocial relationship, or get a realistic doll that is super flirty and fulfills every fantasy you want? It's very easy to judge, and I think it's not a good thing to do, even if you are in that situation. But it's getting to a point now where you think, well, I can't blame them too much if they're really just if they're just that lonely and or constantly facing rejection. Now, it's very different if what you're talking about with people who are already in a relationship, and that it's contextual, depends on what people think is cheating and what they think is appropriate. The AI chat sex is, I don't know about that one. I think that's too far. I think it's just weird. And then the one with the sex doll is just, I guess it's not a human, but it's just, it's weird. Just use your imagination. That's how I feel about it. But
yeah, and before I say that, on the point of like single people that are engaging in it, and it's like, what's bad? This is a very like I guess it is common, but this is a personal story that happened to me where I went on a date with a guy once, and then like 2 minutes into our date, or a few minutes in, we established that he had been in a relationship with a girl that I knew. And we could tell immediately, like, it wasn't going to be a thing. But we had a good talk. We were just immediately knew that this is not going to go anywhere. There was like friendship, but we were just hanging out. And this girl he dated, she was beautiful, absolutely stunning, intelligent, blah, 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 sexy. And he's told me he broke up with her because he just really like struggled to find her appealing and attractive all the time. And he couldn't help but compare her to the porn that he watched. And he was like, I try to stop all the time. And he's like, I wouldn't even say that I'm addicted because I only watch it like 3 times a week. But when I do, and I go back and look at my girlfriend, all I can see are her physical flaws. So imagine when you're single and you're engaging in this AI or whatever interaction, and you have, or even a sex doll, and you're looking in the eyes, particularly if it's like a video thing, of someone that you feel is like the sexiest woman. You may have that parasocial relationship with her, and she's somewhat celebrity, and she's so hot, and she's staring you in your eyes, telling you how fucking sexy you are or whatever. And then you go out into the real world, and you know, maybe a girl's not going to give it up that easy, or maybe someone's going to push back, or maybe they're not going to be literally perfection, catered to your personality, to what you desire. It's going to be really hard when you get your utmost desired and then have to apply, how do you deal with that in a relationship? Because it's extremely unlikely that you will find someone that is your most desired person in the entire world for the entirety of your relationship with 0 flaws that might eventually impact your sex life or whatever at some point. Of course, maybe that happens, but it's unlikely that this is going to be like a 10 out of 10, 100, relationships ebb and flow. Sometimes it's going to be an 8 out of 10 for a week, whatever. So it's so dangerous to do that. But then how do you convince someone to not engage in that behavior for the sake of their future relationships? Like, do it for the future you. And they're like, well, I'm not in a fucking relationship right now. Like, why?
That's a good point.
Why would I have to? And I actually had a message from someone who listens to this podcast, and he's really, really lovely. And he said he wanted to get more sexual experience. He's finding it hard to, I think he was saying he's finding it hard to like pick up and have like a casual fling because he builds emotional connections really, really fast or easily, I don't know. And he was kind of ready to settle down, but he wanted to get more experience before he finds someone and then settles down with her, and then never got that like chance to sleep around. And he's like, well, if you can't find someone to just have that casual fling with, he was considering hiring an escort. And I was like, go for it. That's great. You should, whatever. But he was so considerate of his future relationship and how she may perceive that, and how, like, would he disclose that to her? Would he tell her I saw an escort? Like, how would she feel about that?
I don't think you need to tell someone that if it's in your
that's what
past.
I said. I'm pretty sure that's what I said.
Like, or and if she asked, just
explain it.
Yeah, I did it.
The truth, yeah.
No, some people will still be. Some people are still very. Some people will definitely be uncomfortable with that, but
yeah,
I don't know. You can't have everything.
And I think the more people know about escorts, the more educated we are. I feel like it's actually more gentle to receive that information if you're more educated on it, because like I know that when I was 20, if a guy or a boyfriend had told me that, I probably would feel extremely threatened. But now, having studied and worked alongside, not as a fellow sex worker, but having worked alongside people that are sex workers, etc., almost everyone I've met and every escort I've met, they're basically all just like normal average women that aren't particularly outstandingly 10 out of 10s, like some of them are like 43-year-old. Like one woman I literally studied with was a 43-year-old with 5 kids. And she was a sex worker. And a lot of them are people that, anyway. So I think that having that education about it is beneficial, but also just being upfront and being like, I did say to him, like, I think that if you find it to be like a really enjoyable experience, my only thing would don't make it become a thing where you're going out and it's an escort every week for a year and you've had 100 escorts or 50 escorts in the year. I could see that someone might struggle with that concept, even though I could rationalize it and understand it as someone that's very sex positive. I know I personally would still struggle with it a little bit. But if you're just engaging in someone
I've
ongoing.
seen 50 escorts this year. I'm just so sex positive, man.
I'm doing it for women's rights.
Yeah. Imagine hearing that would be something not to say. Yeah, my thing is, okay, look, if you're going to go for casual one-night stands, what are you doing anyway? You're going out to a bar, you're probably spending money on drinks, and look, you might spend $100 to $200 if you include the Uber, if you include everything. It depends how fancy a bar you're going to. Well, why not just go to it's actually just more, I would argue even not more ethical, but it's just a much more simpler transaction because everyone knows what they're there for. Yeah. And you're not necessarily manipulating someone to make them feel like you might want something more. Yeah. Just go there and then, you're in and out in half an hour or 2 minutes, however long you take, and that's it. I think that's better than the robot. But I think the robot's weird. I think the human is at least it's a real person.
Yeah. And a lot of people that are escorts, I want to differentiate as well between escorts and like brothels, because although brothels are very popular and they're fucking everywhere in Sydney, I didn't realize this. I lived in Crow's Nest and I didn't realize till after I left there's like a brothel, like 3 brothels on every street. And I was like, I'm shocked about this. There are a lot. Yeah, and I saw someone post
I can
on.
tell you the address of all. No,
There's one near your place. I remember I used to walk past
there are
when I
two
parked my car.
near my
Yeah,
right
and,
next to each other. I don't know why.
and then when I was looking at
That's why I live here. No, I got to stop. All right.
I don't know why. I've never seen that. When I looked at massage places in Crow's Nest, this is how I discovered it. I was coming back to Crow's Nest. I needed a massage. So I was looking at best massage places in Crow's Nest, and then I was reading the reviews, and so many of them were like, she's great, gave me a happy ending, very efficient, doesn't kiss, and just fully just saying it in their review, like everywhere. And I was like, what the fuck? This is crazy. Like I probably had a massage from that place, not knowing. But yeah, how
Yeah,
awkward.
anywhere with a neon massage sign is probably a
Yeah.
brothel.
Yeah. Well, I saw a woman post on a local Facebook, I think it was the Willoughby Facebook page I'm still a part of, and today, and she said, how can I tell? I've seen it, like, I think she said she saw a receipt or something of her husband going to get a massage. And she's like, I know he's cheating. How can I tell if it's a brothel or not? And some people are like, if there's a red light in any aspect, it's a brothel. And then other people are saying they've changed that now, and the best way is to go in as a woman and pretend you want a job there and ask them what's expected. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's websites that say that. But anyway, so there's that, and if you want to be very ethical, it would be worth doing your research into it, because there are a lot of women that work in brothels, international students that can't afford rent in Sydney, and they're not ideal circumstances and may not be super stoked with their job.
Yes.
Whereas an escort,
Not very regulated.
they get to choose their clients as well. It's like an agreement made upon each other. With a brothel, it's usually just you walk in and they have to say, well, they don't have to, but
Yeah.
they say yes. Whereas an escort, you get that interaction. You often go out for dinner or drinks, or you have go to their house and socialize for a bit, and she will ask you things like, do you want me to talk to you? Do you want me to be nurturing? Do you want me to be like, just come in and get straight into it? Like, what are your thoughts on kissing? Or I do this, or I don't do that, or I expect a shower before and I need to see you shower before and after. Like, there's all these things, and it's not as romantic as TV makes it out to be. In fact, it's quite like
Very
clinical.
transactional.
Yeah, it is. And it's like, even to the point where it's like, I see a lot of women that are sex workers say that they don't allow men to put condoms on themselves. They must do it. And most of them, like 80% of them, don't kiss and engage in that. So it is like
And it's probably better not to, because you can potentially get the old herp from a kiss.
Yeah, of
So
course, yeah.
not to suggest that I'm not trying to say that someone in that profession may be more likely to have it or whatever, but look, they are around sex a lot, so
Yeah. There's a guy I came across on TikTok, and he was really interesting. He was a young, like our age, Australian male escort, and a straight
male
one.
escorts really intrigue me. But yeah, go on.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear
And
this.
he was really, like, his videos, he was doing like Q&As. He was so lovely. Like, he just seemed really nice, really friendly, very like Aussie and down to earth. And it wasn't like, it's so funny because when you see like women, they often have to like, they're selling the sexuality of it and how this will be hot. And for him, he was really selling I'm a nice person and I'm safe to be around and I want to make you feel good. And he said people were asking him, like, do you see plus size clients? Do you see older women? And he's like, yeah, I love my big women. I've always enjoyed them and I love making love to them. And yeah, I see clients all over Australia or maybe the world. I don't know. Like, I get flown places and I've taken people's virginities that are anxious about it. It's all about what you want. And I was like, this guy is like, and he uses TikTok to promote himself, but it was so good. I literally thought, if my friend ever came to me and said, I want a male escort, which I don't think would happen, I would be like, I know the guy.
Well, that's becoming more common.
Yeah, because that parasocial relationship.
Yeah, and Well, from what you hear, a lot of women are dismayed at the opportunities that they're getting with men who aren't doing it professionally. So I guess there's a market there, and good on them. You know, I'd just be so like, what if you can't? What if you actually can't perform? Or like what? Like you
as
have
the
to
sex
fake.
worker?
Yeah, like what if? And not just for the
Viagra,
man.
yeah.
Yeah, I know, but even with Viagra, it's sometimes not a guarantee,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I guess it's their job, so they have to do it. And what happens? Like, can people get their money back if they're not satisfied with the like? What if she doesn't orgasm or something? Can they? Is there like a
Orgasm guarantee.
yeah? Like, what is it?
No, I don't think so. And I know this because I've seen guys talk online about they went to get experience via an escort or no, via a brothel, and then 45 minutes into a hand job, she's like, my arms hurt and your time's up. Like,
Oh yeah, no, I
that's
know. For the for a male paying for a female escort, I totally
Yeah.
get it's all time based.
Yeah.
I assume it must be time based as well. Then for the
And
other
some
way
women
around.
don't expect, there is a somewhat high percentage of women that, for example, like what's the stat? I think it's less than 20% or around only 20% of women can orgasm just from vaginal internal stimulation. So basically penis in vagina. And most women, majority of women actually require external stimulation, and sometimes they don't want to be touched, or sometimes they don't want guys going down on them, especially if they're inexperienced or whatever. So they might be going into that being like, I don't want an orgasm. And that's why this guy's so good, because he sells you on that relationship and that safety aspect. There's another guy I follow. I don't know if he's a sex worker. I can't tell. And I'll have to send you his
Probably
videos.
is.
And he's this beautiful black man, and he goes around and he's very like spiritual, and he's a masseuse.
Of course.
And he videos though the massages he gives, and he gets the women in like bikinis, and this is just women of all shapes, sizes, ages, disabilities, everything. And obviously he gets their consent to film them and upload it. And he'll, like, for example, he'll have them in the bath. They're wearing bikini, they're clothed, and he'll give them like a 40-minute like massaging, shampooing their hair, being really tentative, just touching them, hugging them, holding them. And it's like the massage was like 20% of it. And it was just like that, the tender loving care aspect of it, that I think that so many women
enough.
find appealing, which is why sex dolls are so unappealing as to most women as a sexual outlet, because a lot of women are turned on by the interaction more than they are about the physicality. And so I was thinking, like, in regards to like the micro cheating as well, like, well, what about Gone Wild audios? Like, I've just discovered that's a thing recently all over the internet, where people will put like 40-minute voice recordings, and so many of them are directed to women as well, or where basically it's a recording of a man that's like talking to you as though you're there with him, and he's telling you what to do or whatever, and they make like sounds and everything. It's a full production. It's crazy. And it's like
Telling you what to do in a sexual context, or
yeah, like I love the way you're touching yourself. And then they'll literally have a sound going of something, like some squishy sound going in their recording. And then he'll be doing it as well or something. It's like so popular amongst women. And when I came across this because I saw a post, and it was like,
this is
what's
a
your
growing market?
yeah, what's your favorite like not safe for work subreddit? And so many women were saying Gone Wild audios, Gone Wild audios, Gone Wild audios. Like, it was so popular amongst women. And then it's like, well, is that considered the same as watching porn, where it's a man and a woman on a screen, or a woman and women, whatever, an orgy, who cares, interacting sex where you're separated? Or is that another level of a boundary crossing because you're imagining as though someone else is, and you're hearing someone else talking to you as you. It's, there's all these
There's a lot of
like,
questions,
little,
isn't there? Yeah.
yeah,
I think your people are being a little bit utopian if they think their partner will never ever be sexually
Yeah.
attracted to anyone else
Yeah.
ever. I think then the question is, okay, what are the boundaries based on how far they act upon that sexual attraction? And that's obviously a conversation you got to have. But this is, from a purely economic point of view, this is such a growing
Yeah.
market, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
women are making a lot more money now, and there's a lot more single women who are the projections of how many women are also going to be childless, and it's going to go up to 40%. They're saying. So, man, I got to become a male escort pimp. Do you think there'll be rappers who are like female rappers? You know, there's all these male rappers that are like, yeah, I'm a pimp, and I got my what are they? The tricks or whatever.
Yeah, maybe I should do it. Maybe I
Yeah.
should become a madame. Is it? Yeah.
I guess the madame, but of men.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like
And
I'd
from
be good at it.
it's always former army guys that become male escorts.
Is it? I don't know
Oh,
that,
maybe not.
But I don't know
saw
many.
I saw one that was a former. When I say I saw online. But
Right. That's
yeah,
interesting.
oh yeah, I got that SAS. They do love destroying brown people, so you know. That was a good joke. All right. Anyway, but look, this is the truth. When I was single, I was looking at an escort website once, and then they had a male one, and I was just like, oh, I want to hear what what features they have here, and it was just like former army guy. It was his height. It was like the measurement of his cock, and it was all very.
Oh, wow.
But then it was also things like, yeah, it will be fully attentive, and it's just all that. I want to give
Actually,
you a
there's
good
a show
experience where there's
in,
a lot
like,
of that.
a really old show, like 2000, and it's so good. It's called Gigolos. I can't remember what streaming platform I watched it on.
Oh, I
but
saw that.
It follows like 6 guys, and they're all escorts, and you see their clients. I'm pretty sure you literally see them having sex as well.
Yeah.
And it's all about like when they stay overnight, how they interact, how they charm their clients, and they've all got very different personalities. Like you can see like some want the macho man that's just going to come in and take them, and some want that really attentive, like I'm here to listen, we'll talk for 9 hours and then I'll kiss you tenderly and put a finger in and go home. Like it's so funny, like interesting how much it differs amongst them. And also seeing the women that use them as clients, like a lot of them were women my age, like some of them didn't have experience, or some of them were just like busy business women, and they're like, I just want to get laid with someone I find attractive that knows what he's doing. And then a lot of them were like rich cougars. I don't know why they were.
There was a lot of
rich.
that. Yeah.
Like 60-year-old wealthy mansions. And then they go in, they just get totally spoiled, these guys. Yeah, it's so fascinating. I highly recommend that show if it's still available to watch.
Well, there's a profession for you if you're a man looking at the cost of living now, thinking
I feel like
all right
every
at
guy
that,
would be like, I
and
could do this, and then
there's a lot of cougars out there that, yeah.
get on it.
Well,
Get
it
in
is. Look, from a external perspective, is not just looking at it from an economic point of view, and not just objectively looking at the trends. There is somewhat of a sadness to how transactional everything is becoming.
Yeah.
Everything is becoming a commodity, and maybe we need strong cultural boundaries and just a cultural framework that allow us to enjoy our animal instincts in a way that is still harmonious for a community and for a larger social environment. But this is the world we live in now, isn't it? And the Muslims are going to take over. They're having 7 kids each. No, I'm not saying that in a bat. I'm just, if I were a betting man, I'd bet on Islam.
Well, yeah, I guess if you look at the long-term trajectory of
I think you're the
childbearing.
last person to have a kid ever.
Yeah,
No.
could be.
Look, in all seriousness, no, with all these, that is just where my mind tends to go, which with all these avenues that are fulfilling people's sexual desires without requiring a monogamous relationship or just a relationship with a human, that isn't transactional and that's more long term, it is going to massively impact how many people have children. And of course, everyone has a choice to do that, but over the long term, if the birth rate does dwindle, there are societal consequences that come with that. And we've talked about that on previous podcasts. So that's the big existential question that pops into my mind after hearing about all this. As entertaining and as funny as a lot of these stories are, that's something that does worry me.
Yeah, it terrifies me, especially for the future generations. And I do wonder as well, like how in some ways we're becoming more, I don't want to say more rigid about cheating, but more aware of aspects of cheating and putting more boundaries in. But also in other aspects, I feel like that we will be becoming, especially in the future, potentially more flexible with things based on the technology around us and having to change what we consider to be unethical or ethical within a monogamous relationship.
Well, they'll put it on the app. They'll ask you a question with all those questions they ask on Bumble. They'll also ask you, do you want a partner who looks at porn? Are you comfortable with this? Are you comfortable with that? I'm surprised I haven't done that already.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? And it's easier then to match with someone like that.
75% of women would say no and 95% of men will say yes.
Or they'd lie and say no.
And then the pool's just, shorter
Yeah.
and shorter. But that's a good idea. Yeah. Or maybe there should just be like an app that's purely like the most ethical version of monogamy, where it's like you don't engage with thoughts on Instagram. I hate that I just said thoughts. Let's pretend that didn't happen. You don't engage with sexy women on Instagram or sexy men. You don't send flirtatious messages. You're not engaging in VR or pornography or whatever.
Everyone says that. Everyone will say, yeah, I won't do that. And then they'll be tempted.
Yeah.
Probably Christian mingle. They'll say all that. But then they're the ones who actually end up in a same-sex relationship because they've been so shamed out of that. So maybe we got to go back to some of the stuff we talked about in the really early podcast we did, which was, all right, a relationship doesn't actually have to be predicated on love. There's some degree of intimacy that occurs, obviously, but in previous eras, even in some of the more sexually prudent eras, there were your wife and your husband, or your husband. It was more of a economic arrangement and a legal arrangement, and it was well known that mostly for people in the middle and upper class, they were all having affairs on the side. Yeah. Maybe that's the best option.
Maybe, but I'm going to say no.
Yeah, right now.
And I'm also going to say as well, like, it's totally up to every individual. Obviously, we always come down to this and what your boundaries are and what you want and what you do or don't desire, you're okay with, etc. But I want to say as well, like, it is okay to expect and desire like these boundaries to be put into place. It is okay to say I'm not comfortable with this and to have that boundary. And we can't be like, well, even though we're talking literally like times are changing, we're being hypothetical. Like you don't have to just doom yourself to what you want in a relationship because of the development of technology or whatever. Have your boundaries that you feel comfortable with and just find someone that fucking agrees with them. Just talk about it early on, for the love of God. Like
absolutely. And also what's happening is because we're so atomized, we're putting more pressure on the monogamous relationship. And then that's what Esther Perel always talks about. She says, your romantic partner is your best friend, your confidant, your partner in crime. Now. They're your lover, but they're also someone you depend upon and someone who's consistent. They're almost your business partner in managing a household. And when you have that much expectation on one other person, you're not bound, but you're much more likely to be disappointed because this person is a human being and they're flawed and they're imperfect. So there has to be some sort of new social norms that emerge, and I don't know what they are. And we're going to get, we've said that 3 times. We're really hyping up the next episode, but we will get into it in the next episode. So thank you for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed that one. And if you have any escort stories, let us know, actually.
Yeah, please. I'd love to hear them.
Maybe we should start a sex sales subreddit. How do you do that?
Great idea. I don't know, but that'd
probably-
be so fun.
Yeah, maybe
I
someone
would
can
love
start
that. But then I would literally become a Reddit mod, and I will become that cliche.
it. Oh, actually, yeah, that's the worst stereotype of Reddit, being the moderator. Yeah, actually, maybe not. Maybe a Discord. No, that's even worse.
Just message me. I'm not
Yeah,
going to tell anyone your
message Eliza.
identity. Like, I'm a pretty good secret keeper.
There you go. All
Well,
right.
if I talk about it on the podcast, I won't say your name, obviously. I won't even look at your profile.
There you go. So message Eliza any cool escort stories. Thank you all for listening. Share this podcast with someone who you might think would benefit from it, and follow us on Instagram, YouTube. I know I haven't been very frequent with the updates on Instagram and TikTok, and I do apologize for that. I've got a lot going on, but we are trying to pump out these episodes as frequently as possible. We've mostly stuck to once a week, and I will post a little bit more on the Instagram. So thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next week.
See you next week.